Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto had the soul of young vampire. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Prelude. A.N. Hello and good day to you all. This is my first ever vampire story and I hope it turns out good. Disclaimer. Naruto belongs to Masashi Kishimoto. Warning. Do not read this story if you don't like Sasanaru. Oh, and a little OOC. Pairings. Sasanaru Ida Dei Kakeru Saku Ino. Seriously, Naruto, you should stop sulking. This move might be good for you. It's always nice to get a fresh start at things. You might even like this town better than the last one. Besides, I got us a really nice house. Iruka Yumino's attempts to cheer up his adopted son, Naruto Uzumaki, were all in vain. It had only been a few weeks ago that Iruka had announced that they were moving away from Konoha City, where they'd lived all their lives. Naruto hadn't had much time to pack up and say goodbye to his friends before they left on a 2-hour ride to a place called Suna. His all happened because of a job transfer. Naruto was 17, small, slim, and tan, with such bright blonde hair and blue eyes he made the cloudiest of days seem sunny. But his most noticeable feat were the 6 whisker marks on his face, one on each cheek, that he'd had since before he could remember. I don't care if this town has more ramen shops than I can count, he said, staring out of the passenger window. I miss Konoha. You could have at least waited until I graduated with my friends. He heaved a heavy sigh and sank down into his seat. If I waited I wouldn't get the job and it's got much better pay than the last one. And sit up straight, Iruka said. Car seats weren't destined to ruin your posture. Whatever. Naruto put some earphones on, cranked up his iPod and closed his eyes. Tell me when we get there. When they finally arrived at their new house, Naruto could only stare out the window in awe. The house was huge. It was an elaborately designed mansion with a garden and giant water fountain out front surrounded by a huge lawn. But the garden was unkempt, the grass was growing wild, and the fountain was rusty and dry. It all looked like it hadn't been touched for months. On the mailbox by the front gate was a rusted plate that read, Uchiha Residence. Iruka drove up the circular garage and parked the car. Well, with some fixing up it'll look good as new. He turned toward Naruto and held up a house key. Want to do some exploring? Sure. Naruto took the key and ran up the stairs that led to the front door, which was almost as big as their car. He unlocked it as fast as he could and went in, greeted by the eerie sight of furniture covered in plastic in a large living room darkened by black curtains on the windows. Everything was covered in dust and it smelled like mothballs. Naruto shuddered. Talk about you perfect RL. Stein. Setting. He ran upstairs, eager to claim the perfect room, although the house was so big he could easily have 2 rooms to himself. It was one room at the end of the hallway that caught his attention. It had a desk in one corner and a king-sized bed in the other. There was a CD rack nailed to the wall, and a large closet beside the desk. On the other side of the desk was a glass door that led out onto a balcony, giving an awesome view of the town. I've so got dibs on this one. Naruto flopped down on the bed and sighed. If only his friends could see him now. He missed them a lot. He knew Sakura and Nadino would love to hang out here. Naruto. Iruka called from downstairs. If you've found a room come and get your bags. Then I want you down here to help me clean up. Coming. Naruto yelled back, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. He shivered, wondering if Iruka had turned on the air conditioning because the room was starting to get cold. Then he started hearing faint scratching noises coming from the closet. Must be rats, he thought, and went to get his bags, wondering why it was only his room that felt cold. At dinner time, they sat in the living room because the kitchen had so much stuff stored in it was impossible to cook anything. All they had to eat that didn't have to be cooked was cereal. I've got you enrolled in Suna's only boarding school. You'll be starting tomorrow. I'll also set up our electricity, water, and air conditioning too. There's no AC yet? Naruto asked. Iruka shook his head. Why do you ask? The room I picked is cold all the time. And I think there's rats in there, Naruto said. It's nice, though. I'm pretty sure whoever used to use it had most of my interests. Really? Iruka asked. Maybe it was a ghost. He added with a chuckle. Naruto shivered. Just the thought of ghosts scared the crap out of him. True, Naruto Uzumaki was extremely easy to scare. Halloween was his least favorite holiday and scary movies gave him nightmares for weeks at a time. Naruto was very close to asking Iruka if he could sleep with him, but he didn't want to look like a coward. I'm going to bed. Hey, Naruto. Iruka started but shook his head. Never mind. Good night. Naruto was quickly regretting his choice of rooms. Forget it being cold earlier. It was downright freezing now. He was huddled, completely under the covers with 2 jackets on and 2 pairs of socks. And he had to pee, but it was so dark and creepy in the hallway it would put the Twilight Zone to shame. It wasn't until he was sure he'd wet himself if he delayed any longer that he poked his head up from under the covers, and came face to face with a ghost. Well, he thought it was a ghost at first. The person was just so pale he almost looked like one. Some of his pitch black hair hung down over his face and some stuck up in the back. What stood out most were his eyes. They were blood red with 3 coma marks in each eye. They both froze. Then, ah! Naruto screamed at the top of his lungs, knowing Iruka was an extremely heavy sleeper and wouldn't come running to save him. But that didn't mean he would shut up. The beautiful stranger had his hand firmly placed over his mouth. SSSHHH. He hissed. He didn't remove his hand until Naruto stopped struggling and making noises. Oh shit, I'm gonna die, the blonde thought. I can't even struggle against this guy. He's so strong. He might be a weirdo who'll rape me then chop me up into little pieces. What are you doing in my room? He asked, eyeing Naruto up and down. Naruto didn't say anything for fear that might anger the apparently crazy man. Answer me. PP, please don't kill me. Naruto choked out. The pale man seemed choked. Why would I kill you? He asked. I have no reason to do that. I just want to know who you are and why you're in my house. I just moved in here, with my dad. Naruto said. He was finally starting to relax a little. Just a little. How can this be your house if my dad just bought it? TCH. The stranger got up off the bed and walked toward the window. I'm Don. Chi felt like wasting my time talking to you. Go back to sleep, Naruto. With that said, he jumped out the window, leaving Naruto to wonder what the heck that was all about, and how he knew his name. A.N. So that's it for now. I don't plan on making the story too long cause I've got other stories to work on and I've been procrastinating. At least I've got an idea on how to end this story, so I know I'll finish it. His story. A.N. I'm very sorry for taking so long to update. I was caught up in my other stories and stuff and had absolutely no inspiration for this story. So if you all have been patient enough to stick with this story, I hope you'll enjoy chapter 2. Also, I'll try to make Naruto not so OOC as the story goes on. But Sasuke's a bit talkative in this chapter. To all who reviewed the first chapter and were hopefully patiently waiting for chapter 2, Sasuke's pal, Kimiko Tasuki, Anime Princess 47, Sasanaru Fanatic, Alri, Mrs. Hitaki Itachi, X_X, Suki by Twilight, Vivi, Sugar Dash, Miss Heartless, Lilith Chan 01. Number 1 Sasunarufan, Born 1 Wing, Kai, CRZY Anime Mom, NBA Victoria. This one's for you guys. Warning. Oh, oopness, yaoi and profanity. I think Sasuke's a little more OOC than Naruto in this story. This is a yaoi vampire story. If bloodsucking and butt sex makes you uncomfortable, go read something else please. Pairings. Sasanaru Ida Dei Kakeru Saku Ino. Naruto. What's the matter? Iruka looked up from his newspaper the next morning when Naruto walked into the kitchen. You look like you've seen a ghost. Did you get enough sleep last night? Naruto groaned. No, he hadn't gotten much sleep since that weird guy left. He'd huddled under the covers telling himself it was a dream until he was certain his bladder would explode. Then he'd run to the bath and back and finally fell asleep just before sunrise. We need to get a security system. He muttered. Why? Iruka asked, but Naruto just shook his head wearily. He grabbed his suitcase and keys. Well, I'll make arrangements if you don't feel safe. Go get you backpack. The school bus will be here soon. See you this afternoon. Why can't you drive me to school? Naruto asked, not wanting to be left alone in that creepy house. We're just going to the same place. Because I have to get to work early and students aren't allowed on school grounds yet. Iruka explained. Bye, Naruto. Have a nice day at school and please stay out of trouble. And if you see any creepy strangers, don't talk to them. With that said, he hurried out to his car and drove away. Yeah. Naruto waved goodbye and headed up to his room to get his things, praying that all the creepiness of his room had miraculously disappeared. Of course, it hadn't. It was still cold as hell. Naruto could swear he heard scratching noises coming from the closet again. Rats. It's just rats, he told himself as he picked up his backpack from beside his bed and hurried out the room, taking the stairs 2 at a time, then running out the house. He felt better as soon as he was outside and walking toward the bus stop. So, someone really did move into the Uchiha place. What's up, new meat? A loud voice said behind him. Yuto turned to see a slightly taller boy about his age walking up to him. His shaggy brown hair and fang-shaped tattoos on his cheeks gave him a very canine look, and when he grinned, Naruto could swear he saw fangs. My name's Kiba Inuzuka. What's yours? Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said. Were you waiting outside my house? That's kinda creepy. Not as creepy as the house you're living in. Kaiba swung an arm around Naruto's shoulder despite the smaller boy's obvious uncomfort. Don't you know the story behind that place? No. Naruto slipped out of Kiba's grasp and they started walking down the street together. He already had the feeling that he'd probably be better off not knowing. And I don't think I want to know. Kiba pouted. Why not? It's such a good story. Could it be that you're scared? Yes, I am. Naruto snapped. Kiba put both his hands in the air and backed away. Whoa, he said. No need to get all snappy. I'm just trying to make friendly conversation. What's got your panties in a knot? Sorry. Naruto sighed. I didn't get much sleep last night. And I guess I'm a little nervous about starting a new school. They stood in silence for a few minutes until the bus finally pulled up. Naruto got on and walked straight to the back. A timid-looking girl with dark blue hair and pale eyes was in the seat in front of him. Hi, I'm Naruto. He grinned at her and extended his hand. She blushed beet red. I'm Hinata Hyuga, she said quietly. The bus came to another stop, and when the next person got on, Naruto practically fell out of his seat. What the hell? He yelled out. There was no mistaking it. Same stuck-up black hair. Same piercing eyes, only now they were a deep obsidian. Same freakishly pale skin. It was the same guy who'd been in his room last night. Everyone on the bus was staring at him. Is the problem back there? The bus driver said. Naruto's face flushed. No sir. He hung his head and sunk down in his seat, not even bothering to look up when someone sat next to him. So, did you sleep well last night, Naruto? He asked. Naruto looked up and grimaced at the boy next to him. Cut the small talk, you weirdo. He hissed. Who are you? Why were you in my room last night? And how do you know my name? And for the love of God, what is up with your eyes? The raven touched under Naruto's eyes. You should sleep more or you'll get unsightly rings under those pretty eyes. He was silent for a few minutes. My name is Sasuke. That barely answers my questions, asshole. Naruto jumped slightly when Sasuke put a finger to his lips to hush him. Some questions are better left unanswered, he whispered. Naruto flushed bright red and scooted away from him. Don't touch me, he snapped. I don't want anything to do with you until you explain to me what you're playing at. Sasuke smirked and faced forward. Both were silent the rest of the ride, Naruto sulking the whole time. When the bus finally arrived at Konoha Academy, Naruto practically ran off the bus, but Sasuke caught up, grabbed his arm and held him back. What the hell? What? Sasuke asked innocently. He looped his arm through Naruto's. Don't wanna walk like this with another guy. Don't want people to think you're gay. Naruto felt like smacking the smug look right off Sasuke's face. I am gay, he yelled without thinking. I just don't want people thinking I'm with you. It was a few moments before he realized his mistake. A whole crowd was quickly gathering around them. Shit. He slipped out of Sasuke's grasp and ran into the school building, not stopping until he came to the front office. He could swear he heard Sasuke chuckling the whole way there. I bet he's doing all that crap on purpose. He muttered to himself. He walked into the office and picked up all the paperwork he needed. Folding his schedule and putting it in his pocket, he ran off to class hoping he'd get lucky and a certain Raven wouldn't be there as well. Naruto stood in the doorway of study hall searching for Sasuke. Their teacher stood up and smiled at him. "Ah, hey there." She was a rather tomboyish-looking woman with her hair pulled back in a spiked-up ponytail. "Naruto Uzumaki, right, I'm Anko Mitarashi but you can call me Anko. Go ahead and take a seat." Naruto sat in the back and tried to keep his mind off Sasuke when the lesson began, but it wasn't easy, especially when he looked up 5 minutes later to see Sasuke himself walk in. "Well, I hope you have a good excuse for being late, Mr. Uchiha," Anko said. "I had to take care of a few things in the front office." He held up a signed note. "Here's proof." He gave the note to Anko and much to Naruto's dismay, sat beside the blonde. When Anko continued her lesson, Naruto leaned over and whispered, "What do you want? And what's with the bullcrap story about being in the office? I was just there and I didn't see you anywhere." Sasuke leaned back in his chair and folded his arms across his chest. "Did you want to see me at the office?" he asked. Naruto gritted his teeth. "No," he hissed. I don't have to answer any of your questions, asshole. You should own up and answer mine. And for the love of God, apologize for what happened earlier today and last night." "Why should I apologize?" Sasuke asked. "Because you made me yell out that I was gay," Naruto snapped, jumping up out of his chair. "And I almost pissed myself last night." "Say you're sorry." Anko cleared her throat. "Mr. Uzumaki, while most of the students here and I don't care what your preference may be or about any urination problems you may have, I don't really think it's important enough to randomly yell out. Now this is the first time today, but any more outbursts will land you in detention. Understood?" Naruto sat back down and buried his head in his arms. "Understood," he mumbled. He could tell without looking that Sasuke was smirking the whole time. It was hard to ignore the muffled laughter of the other students. "Oh, please don't let this day get any worse," he thought. At the end of class, Naruto rushed out but failed at leaving alone. Sasuke trilled quietly behind him, peeking at his schedule over his shoulder. My, we sure do have a lot of classes together." Naruto sighed. "How many?" He thought he might as well talk to him since he wouldn't leave him alone. "All of them." Sasuke held up his own schedule to prove his point. Naruto slowly turned to face, ignoring the stares of most of the students passing by. "What's wrong?" "Because of you I barely got any sleep last night in a room I don't feel safe in. It's my first day here and I bet I'm already the laughingstock of this school. All I want is some peace and quiet without having to worry about embarrassing myself if I yell at you. I mean, I do. And don't even want to know why you were in my room or what's wrong with your eyes. I just want to be left alone. Is that too much to ask?" Sasuke was quiet for a few moments. "Dobi, did you even notice we're alone now? We're gonna be late for class." He brushed Sofly past Naruto and headed to class. The blonde clenched his fists and ran after him. Iruka hummed softly to himself as he finished gathering up his students' papers. During lunch break and headed towards the teacher's lounge. His day had gone a lot easier than he'd expected. None of the students were rude or disruptive. Suna Academy was like a teacher's dream come true. The teacher's lounge was only occupied by one other man, who was sitting on one of the small couches reading what looked vaguely like an erotic novel. He wore a sleeveless dairy blue turtleneck with the top pulled up to cover the bottom half of his face. "Oh, hello," Iruka said. "I'm Iruka Yumino. And you?" The man slowly pulled away from his book and stared lazily at him. "Hey." He closed the book and stood up to shake his hand. "You must be the new teacher I've heard about. I'm Kakashi Hatake. Well, I wouldn't want to keep you from your reading, so I'll just Iruka looked around nervously. One of the small couches was covered with textbooks. "My, there aren't many places to sit here as there. We've never really had much use for this room since most of the teachers eat their lunch in their classrooms," Kakashi explained. "You're welcome to share my couch." They sat next to each other in silence while Iruka unpacked his lunch and Kakashi went back to his book, occasionally stealing glances at the smaller man. He's Kind of cute, he thought. It had been a long day at school, what with Naruto trying not to yell at Sasuke. It was really starting to piss him off, and he didn't even have any friends at school to talk to. Most students had gone out of their way to avoid the loudmouthed gay kid with the bladder problem. It's official, he groaned as he leaned against his locker after the final bell rang. My social life is dead. Nobody talked to me in any of my classes, and I sat alone at lunch. I'm now known as the loudmouthed gay, and it's all your fault. Don't be so hard on yourself. Sasuke grabbed his collar and started dragging him towards the school bus. If we don't hurry, we'll have to walk home. Naruto had already given up trying to avoid him. Okay, I can walk by myself. He smacked Sasuke's hand away. They walked to the bus together in silence, and when they boarded, everyone got quiet and a few students started whispering. What? Naruto shouted. If you've got something to say, then say it to my face. Yell out something funny again. A guy near the back of the bus yelled, and a lot of people laughed. Naruto clenched his fists and walked off the bus. I'm gonna walk home. He turned to leave, and Sasuke followed him. You shouldn't walk by yourself. A cute little boy like you would get snatched up by someone. I mean, do you even know how to get to your house from here? Naruto shook his head. But I know you'll show me the way, won't you? They started walking as the bus drove away. You've officially succeeded in ruining my social life, and it looks like you're the only friend I'm gonna have in this small town. So I think it's only fair that you answer the questions I've been asking. Now that we're alone, I'll answer whatever you have to ask, Sasuke said. Naruto hesitated. Why were you in my room last night? Correction, Sasuke said. I still consider that my room. And I was in there because that's where I sleep. The closet is very comfortable to me. The hell? Naruto took a few steps away. Well, why do you sleep in there? And why is that room so cold? And what's up with your eyes changing color? And why are you following me around? My family used to live there, Sasuke explained. But things happened and everyone left. I have connections with local realtors and got my own apartment across town using my inheritance, but I still sleep in my old closet because I convinced a few of my connections not to sell the house. And my eyes don't change color. I wear contacts. And the reason I'm following you around. You interest me and I would like to get to know you better. And the room is cold because I have an AC unit hooked into that room's vents. Somehow, I'm still confused. Naruto said. So, your eyes are black and you wear red contacts. And if you have connections to realtors, then why'd your house get sold to my dad? No, Sasuke said. And I don't know how my house got sold. I'll be sure to look into that later. Naruto dragged his feet along the sidewalk. This isn't making any sense to me. You seem like the kinda guy who'd be really popular, but whenever you were in tea with me during school, I saw you hanging around somewhere by yourself. Not that many people want anything to do with me. Most students think talking about me is bad luck. And pretty much everyone is afraid to hold eye contact with me, Sasuke said, turning to Naruto. It's a long story. It's a long way home. Naruto shot back. Well, too bad for you, but I'm not much of a storyteller. With that, they both fell silent for the next few blocks. Ah, man, Naruto muttered. Why me? I felt like there's some sort of Twilight thing going on here. Are you going to be in my closet tonight too? I'm not leaving just because you and your dad moved in, Sasuke said. In fact, since you're here, it makes me want to be at home even more. He ran a finger across one of the whisker marks on Naruto's cheeks. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about you. Honestly, Naruto backed away from his touch. You're like some kind of hot movie vampire. Sasuke pulled his hand back and smiled. Naruto jumped back. Whoa, please for the love of God say something besides, Sasuke turned and walked off the sidewalk, heading right toward a cemetery. I know a shortcut through here. Follow me, Naruto. Naruto could swear his feet started moving on their own. He silently watched Sasuke's back as they made their way through the headstones, the sound of crunching leaves filling their ears. I know a lot of people who are buried here, Sasuke suddenly stated. Aunts, uncles and grandparents. He came to a stop in front of two large matching headstones so covered in weeds the names were no longer visible. And my parents. Naruto stared speechlessly at his feet. I'm sorry. Sasuke kneeled down in front of the graves. Don't be. It's not like I'm not sad about it anymore. Why are you telling me this? Naruto asked. Sasuke turned to him with a serious expression on his face. I don't really know. I guess I just want you to know more about me, because I want to know more about you. Strange, huh? Naruto slowly shook his head. Not really, but we don't have to be in the middle of a cemetery to get to know each other. Why not? Sasuke stood and approached the blonde, backing him up against a large tree. We're all alone to talk about whatever we want to talk about. Nobody ever comes here these days anyway. Naruto looked for an escape route, not bothering to hide his discomfort. Sasuke. He treated. This is a bit out of my comfort zone. Could you step back a little? I mean, I barely know you. Sasuke smirked and stepped back. Come on, he said. We'd better get you home before your dad gets worried. He's the teacher with the scar across his nose, right? Ah, yeah, Naruto said and ran to catch up to his raven-haired companion. Iruka paced quickly back and forth in the living room. Damn it, he hissed. Where is he? I'm home. Naruto walked through the front door and found himself being crushed in a bear hug. Naruto, Iruka cried. Where on earth were you? I waited at the bus stop but the bus driver told me you walked home. Are you out of your mind? What if someone had kidnapped you? Naruto struggled out of the tight embrace. I wasn't alone. I was with. He turned to introduce Sasuke but the raven was gone. Iruka shut the front door. Don't lie to me. Do you have any idea how scared I was? But I'm not lying. Naruto protested, but Iruka put his hand up to silence him. Just stop. I want you to go to your room and think about what you did. But, go. Naruto gritted his teeth and ran upstairs, only to find Sasuke sitting on his bed. He closed and locked the door. What the how did? Can't form a sentence. I just got in trouble because of you. Not my problem. Sasuke patted the spot next to him. Sit. Naruto glared at him but sat nonetheless. Don't talk so loud, Sasuke said. I don't want your dad to find out about me. How did you get up here without using stairs? Naruto asked. I have my ways, Sasuke answered. And if you want to stop being embarrassed or getting in trouble because of me, you'll keep your emotions in check from now on. It's quite easy, for me at least. Why do you have to be here? Naruto asked. I just wanted to have a normal start at this school but you screwing everything up. Can't you tell what's going on? Or can you not trust me to keep a secret? Sasuke flopped back on the bed and sighed quietly. I'm pretty sure you can keep a secret. But it'd be better for you not to know. It's not safe. Try me. Naruto laid down beside him. Sasuke was quiet for a few moments. You know, my dad bought this house and fixed it up for my mom. This was right before I was born. My brother Itachi was about 8 then. I was born and raised here. What happened? Naruto asked. When Sasuke was silent for a few moments. We had a pretty normal life. My dad owned a real estate company in town. My mom decided to stay at home. And my brother and I went to public school. We don't like private schools. It was a pretty, peaceful life. Until my brother started hanging around this group of guys at his high school. They called themselves Akatsuki. I don't really remember all of their names, except for one in particular. His name was Deidara. He and Itachi hit it off not soon after they met and started dating. But I noticed there was something different about him. One day, I went to Deidara's house to hang out and when he came back he said he wasn't feeling well, so he went to his room to lie down. When I went to check on him he was running a fever and he had these bite marks on his neck. Naruto shivered. Bite marks. Sasuke touched 2 fingers to his neck. 2 small marks. I asked him what that was and he told me not to worry. So I dropped it and went downstairs to help my parents with dinner. It was during dinner when Itachi came downstairs. He looked really pale and his eyes were red. He said he was thirsty. He grabbed our dad and bit his neck. It seemed like he was moving so fast. My mom grabbed me and tried to pull me out the house but Itachi caught her and he closed his eyes. Anyway, I was backed up against the wall and terrified. He grabbed me with a grip inhumanly strong. Then bit me. I guess it was lucky for me that he was already so full on out parents' blood that he didn't take that much of mine. I blacked out after that. The next thing I remember, I was waking up in a hospital surrounded by doctors and police. My parents had been killed. There was almost no blood left in their bodies. I was found in my brother's room, barely alive. My brother was missing without a trace. So was Didera. None of their friends knew where they were. While I was still in the hospital, I noticed some changes in myself. I was getting more sensitive to sunlight. It's not like it hurt me or anything, it just blurred my vision and sapped my strength. My hearing seemed to get better. And I seemed to know things about people I'd just met somehow. Just like I knew your name before you told me. I also know Aruka adopted you after your parents died in a car accident when you were 5. You have a friend named Sakura who you had a crush on until she told you she had a girlfriend. Aruka practically had to force you into the car when you moved. Anyway, I told you before that I pulled some strings with realtors I know. After I got out of the hospital, I rented an apartment just for show but stayed here. It went like that for almost a year until you showed up. I also found out from a few connections that Didera and Itachi had been sent into exile. I don't know if they're just outside of town or halfway around the world. Naruto sat up. So, Sasuke sat up and stared into Naruto's eyes. Didera was a vampire. For some reason, he turned Itachi, who lost control of himself and killed my parents and turned me. You're a vampire. Does anybody else know about this? A sharp knock on the door practically made the blonde jump out of his skin. Naruto, we need to talk, Aruka said. Trough the door. Naruto jumped up and walked up to the door while Sasuke closed himself in the closet. What is it? He asked. Look, I'm sorry for getting so mad with you earlier, Aruka said. I was just so worried, especially after what happened in this house. Apparently there was a double homicide here once. Some guy went crazy and killed his parents and tried to kill his brother. I don't know much about it. Naruto sat down on his bed. So that's most of the reason I was so worried. Anyway, I'm gonna start making dinner, so wash up and come downstairs, okay? With that said, he left. Sasuke stepped out of the closet. Well, at least you know I'm not lying. And no, you're not the only person who knows about me. Naruto rubbed his head. Oh my god, this is all so unbelievable, yet some part of me knows it's all true. It's all so much to take in. I told you you'd be better off not knowing, Sasuke said. You won't even look at me. Naruto's EY's slowly traveled from the floor up Sasuke's body, finally coming to rest on his face. He gasped. Your eyes. Sasuke's eyes were glowing a soft red that stood out strongly in the fading light. This is what I am. Sasuke sat next to Naruto and touched the blonde's face. If you want me to, I can erase your memory of everything I just told you. Naruto jerked away from his touch and shook his head. No, he went to the door. I'm gonna go downstairs and have dinner. Are you still gonna be here when I get back? Maybe, Sasuke said. I have to have dinner too. Naruto frowned. Oh, see you later, then. Sasuke watched him leave, wondering if telling him the truth was really the right thing to do. Yeah, I know there's no yaoi action, but there will be some, I swear. I can't wait to write a lemon for this. I know Sasuke seems to be very trusting to tell Naruto about himself so soon, but I wanted to hurry up and get his story out of the way. And I plan to bring Itachi and Didera into the story soon. Until next time, his feelings. Yay. Chapter 3. Thanks so much for all your reviews. They made me so happy. But it seems like this story is taking forever to write. Just thought, I should let you know I'm going to MetroCon. Anyone else going? Who knows, you might meet me at the fanfiction or AMV panel. Disclaimer. Naruto belongs to Masashi Kishimoto. Warning. This is a yaoi vampire story. If bloodsucking and butt sex makes you uncomfortable, go read something else, please. Oh, oopness. There may be some spelling mistakes even though I read it over. I can never fix it all DX, it's so frustrating sometimes. Pairings. Sasunaru Ida Dei Kakeru Saku Ino. It was shaping up to be a chilly weekend. The sky was partially cloudy and the air held a crisp bite that promised a cold winter. About 5 miles outside of Suna was a quaint log cabin nestled in a heavily wooded area. On the porch of the cabin a young man sat on the porch swing. He had long dark hair pulled back in a long ponytail. His red eyes pointed up at the sky and his mouth set in a slight frown. Itachi. Another man walked out of the cabin. He had blue eyes and long blonde hair that was partially pulled up in a ponytail and over his left eye. Is something wrong? It's not like you to be up so early. You're not feeling sick again, are you? Deidara. I hope I didn't wake you. Itachi said quietly. I tried not to be too loud when I got up. It's fine. I was just a little worried when I woke up alone. Deidara sat down beside him and held his hand. What's on your mind? I was thinking about Sasuke. Itachi said. Deidara tensed up and tightened his grip. I was wondering how he was doing. I don't hear much about him these days. He tends to keep to himself in school more and more lately. Maybe he's finally closing up. I'm sorry, Deidara whispered. I should have waited to turn you. 16 is way too young, but I didn't. Itachi cut him off by kissing him softly on the lips. How many times have I told you to stop apologizing? He said. I'm not mad at you, so stop being down on yourself. Deidara smiled and kissed him back. Okay. Well, I'll go make breaks fast. What do you want to eat? Itachi got up and led his lover back inside the cabin. I've got a craving for you right now. He growled, pushing Deidara up against the wall. Deidara laughed. It's just like you to be like this in the morning. Naruto yawned and stretched, glaring daggers at the open curtains letting in bright sunlight. Damn, I was hoping to sleep in too. It had been a long week. All the students had continued to either ignore him or whisper things behind his back, and Sasuke continued to constantly stay by his side. And it seemed like there was a buttload of more homework than his last school. And he'd also been helping Iruka unpack and set up the rest of their things. Sasuke. Naruto opened the closet only to find it empty. I wonder where he went. Iruka was waiting for him at the kitchen table downstairs. Ah, good morning. Morning. Naruto sat down across the table from him. So, got anything planned today? Iruka blushed. Well, one of the teachers, Kakashi Hatake fared to give me a tour of the town, so, he looked down at the table. I'm supposed to meet him soon. A date with Kakashi-sensei. I never said it was a date. He's just giving me a friendly tour. Reet. Iruka cleared his throat. By the way, Sakura called earlier. I told her you were sleeping. She said she'd be coming over this weekend. Naruto brightened up. Really? I'd better go clean my room. And I'd better get going. Iruka looked at his watch. Call me if you need anything. Okay. Okay. Bye. As soon as he was out the door, Sasuke came down the stairs. Hey, so what's for breaks fast? Where were you earlier? Naruto asked. I left right after you fell asleep last night and just got back. Sasuke said. By the way, I sense someone coming to see you. Naruto tilted his head. Where are they? Not too far away. In a car. They should be here in about 5 minutes. It still creeps me out that you know random things like that. It's like I can't hide anything from you. It feels like being naked when I'm around you. Sasuke chuckled. Now that's something I'd like to see. Naruto blushed. I'm gonna go take a shower. Sasuke suddenly stood and started walking upstairs. I'm gonna go get some fresh air. He went out onto Naruto's balcony and leaned over the side. What's this bad feeling I'm getting? He wondered. When Naruto came out of the shower, Sasuke was waiting for him downstairs. Hey, so what exactly do you do when you go out at night? Sasuke lifted an eyebrow. Why do you want to know? Well, I think we should know more about each other. Even the bad stuff. Sasuke was about to answer when there was a knock on the door. Naruto opened the door and found himself being tackled to the floor. Naruto. Oh man, it's so great to see you. A pink red green-eyed girl who looked about Naruto's age said happily. Sakura. Naruto gasped out. Nice to see you too. I can't believe you drove 2 hours just to see me. Sakura helped him up from the floor. Well, I missed you. And my dad lives here too, so I'm gonna visit him later. She said. It's just been so quiet back home without you. There. Naruto looked around. Ino didn't come with you. Nah. She's spending some time with her grandparents. And who's that? She gestured to Sasuke, who was sitting on the couch flipping through a few magazines left on the coffee table. Sasuke got up and shook Sakura's hand. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. I'm one of Naruto's classmates. It's good to meet you, Sakura. Naruto's told me so much about you. Really? Sakura blushed. Such flattery. So what's your new school like? Awful. Naruto grumbled. He's the only friend I've got. Wow. At least you've got a really good-looking friend. Naruto grinned and rubbed the back of his head. Wonder what Ino would say if she heard that. You guys haven't broken up already, have you? No, we're still together. So what do you wanna do today? Sakura asked. I was hoping to get a tour. I don't really know my way around town. Naruto said. Sasuke sighed. I can give you two a tour. Great. Sakura said. I'll drive and you just tell me where to go. Across town Iruka and Kakashi were making their way through a small shopping mall. Hey, Kakashi. What kind of places do you like to go to? Me, well, there's this bookstore not far from here that I frequent. Would you like me to take you there? No, it's fine, Iruka said. I was just wondering, what kind of places do you like? I haven't really had time for amusement lately. What with the move and getting adjusted here? I just like to relax at home, or if the weather's nice I'll go for a walk or something. Outdoor activities are fun, aren't they? Kakashi smiled under his mask. Wait right here, I'll go get you something to drink. He went into a nearby tea cafe while Iruka sat down on a bench nearby. Man, I hope he doesn't think I'm boring, he thought. Suddenly feeling like someone was watching him, he looked up to see a man with long blonde hair and shades eyeing him with a small sad smile from across the plaza. The man saw him watching, tuned and quickly walked away. Wonder who that was. So this is your mall, huh? Akira pulled to a stop in front of the Suna Mall. Kinda small. I hope they at least have a Spencer's. They do, Sasuke said. It equally gets pretty good business. Sakura ran ahead and started window shopping. Hey Sasuke, there's something I forgot to ask you last night. Naruto said quietly. What? Why do you still go to your old house? Isn't it painful for you? Sasuke smiled. No, it's kind of comforting. I don't know why. Hey guys, Sakura called. This shop's pretty awesome. Come check it out. Coming. Naruto started to run ahead, but Sasuke grabbed his arm to hold him back. Hey, how long is this tour going to last? Sasuke asked. I was hoping to spend some alone time with you today. What? Alone time? She's my friend. And you're just a guy who gave you his whole life story after knowing you for less than 2 days. Whatever. Naruto tried to yank himself out of Sasuke's grasp. It's not like we're dating or anything. Let go. Sasuke gritted his teeth but obliged. Fine. Naruto started to walk ahead but turned to see the raven wasn't following. Aren't you coming? I am gonna sit and rest for a while. Naruto frowned but went ahead to join Sakura. Sasuke sat down on a bench outside the shop. Fancy meeting you here. He looked up to see one of his teachers standing over him. Kakashi-sensei. The masked man sat down next to him. It's nice and cloudy today, but I hope it doesn't rain. So, I saw you talking to Naruto and a pink-haired girl. It's good to see you finally opening up to people. I just hope you don't get too open. Sasuke bit his lip. And if I do, you know the rules, Sasuke. Do you want a repeat of what Itachi did? Not everyone's like Itachi. Sasuke muttered. Naruto's different. I can tell. Stop lying to yourself. The sharp tone of Kakashi's voice startled the raven. For your own good, leave that boy a human. I don't want to see anyone else die like your parents. I know what I'm doing, unlike Deidara. Deidara told me he knew what he was doing right before he changed Itachi. Kakashi said. It turned out he didn't, of course. Kakashi. I already told Naruto about me and he didn't reject me. Sasuke said. I'm planning on leaving here soon and I want to take him with me. I feel like I've known him for years, but I bet he still think of me as a stranger. Kakashi sighed. Look, I'm kinda busy with something right now, so I gotta get going. Back to your date. Stop hoping he'll put out tonight. Iruka's not like that. Kakashi chuckled. That's what always gets me about you vampires. I wish you'd stop being such know-it-alls. Sasuke waved lazily and stretched out on the bench. He laid there like that for a while until Naruto and Sakura came back and had him show them around some more. They went window shop. ing for almost an hour before deciding to call it a day and head back. I better get over to my dad's place. I don't like keeping people waiting. When they got back to the house they said they're good. Bais and Sakura made them promise to visit sometime. Drive safe, Naruto called as she drove away. As soon as she was out of sight, Sasuke started to pull him toward the house. I feel the need for privacy. Care to join me? Not really, Naruto said. Like I said before, it's not like we're dating or anything. What if I wanted us to be? Sasuke asked. Naruto stared at him with wide eyes. What? Sasuke pulled him in the house and closed and locked the front door. You heard me. Sasuke backed the blonde up against the wall. Hey, Naruto tried to push Sasuke away, but the vampire only tightened his grip. Sasuke, what do you think you're doing? We barely even know each other. I know almost everything about you. Sasuke traced a finger across one of his whisker marks. I even know how you got these. What? Naruto gasped. Sasuke moved his hand down to his chest. Your mind says no, but your heart is beating so fast. He smiled and leaned forward, barely brushing their lips together. Naruto started to jerk away, but they were both interrupted when they heard a key turning in the lock. Sasuke growled in annoyance but went upstairs before the door opened. Naruto slid to the floor as Iruka walked in, followed by Kakashi. They were in the middle of an argument. Told you before that I'm not like that, Iruka was saying. Okay. Kakashi held up his hands in surrender. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything. I'm just so captivated by you. I know we've only known each other for a week, but I can't help myself. He wrapped his arms around Iruka's waist and tried to nuzzle his neck. The smaller man blushed deeply. Naruto waved. Good to see you're hitting it off. Naruto. Iruka pushed Kakashi away and walked over to him. Why you scared me? Why are you on the floor? No reason, Naruto said. Just, hanging out. Naruto got up to go to his room. I'll just give you two some privacy. See ya. Before Iruka could say any more, he was already up the stairs, and in his room in time to see Sasuke out on the balcony. I'm gonna go out for a while. Where? Naruto asked. I'm a little peckish, Sasuke muttered. I think you know what I need. And I'm sorry for trying to kiss you. It was stupid of me to do that. Oh, Naruto looked down at his feet, then looked back up to say more, but the balcony was empty. Sasuke, welcome home. Itachi looked up from the TV and greeted Deidara, who had just gotten back from grocery shopping. Hey, Deidara plopped down on the couch beside him. What are you watching? Itachi shrugged. I was just channel surfing. He turned the TV off. How'd it go? Pretty uneventful. There was this couple there that made me think of how we were back then. I kinda got caught up watching them, but then one of them saw me. I told you you have a staring problem. I know this chapter's short, but I decided to cut it off here. There will be more yaoi in the next chapter. Speaking of yaoi, there's a poll that Invo less Ida Dei on my profile that's craving some votes. I'd be really happy to know what you guys want. Oh, and in case you're wondering why Dei would be grocery shopping when he could just drink blood tea. He vamps in this story can still eat regular food. It's just no longer holds any nutritional value, but that doesn't stop a craving for it. And when he asked Itachi if he was feeling sick again, well, we'll go into detail about that later on. And about Kakashi, well, you'll learn more about him in later chapters. Oh, I forgot to explain the scratching noises Naruto was hearing earlier in the story. Sasuke kinda moves around and scratches stuff in his sleep. I know that personality quirk is a little weird, but I love giving characters weird traits. I just can't help it. Until next time, his cravings. Wow, never thought I'd reach chapter 4. Thanks for all your reviews. Throws out cookies. Here's something to munch on while you read this. Disclaimer. Naruto belongs to Masashi Kishimoto. Warning. This is a yaoi vampire story. If bloodsucking and butt sex makes you uncomfortable, go read something else, please. Oh, oopness. Also, there's an Ida Dei lemon in this chapter, but you can just skip over it if you want to. Pairings. Sasanaru Ida Dei Kakeru Saku Ino. But that last pairing doesn't really matter because I don't think I'm gonna bring Sakura back into the story. Ages: Itachi 25 SASUKE 17 NARUTO 17. Deidara TBA. Itachi's age when turned 16. Sasuke's age when turned 8. I'll explain why he doesn't look 8 later in the story. Sasuke couldn't believe what was happening. He'd just gotten back to Naruto's room after being out all night only to find the blonde up waiting for him, dressed only in black and orange boxers and laid out on his bed in a tantalizing position under the light of the full moon. "Took you long enough to get back," he whispered. "Come here, Naruto. What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing." The blonde flashed him a feral-looking grin and started to slip his hand down into the front of his boxers. "I was just lonely waiting for you to get back, Sasuke." He licked his lips as his hand moved further into his boxers, this time grasping his already full erection. "Does this turn you on, Sasuke? Want to touch me?" Sasuke gulped and nodded. Naruto chuckled softly. "Then come over here and do it." Sasuke's whole body felt light as he climbed onto the bed and roughly pushed the blonde down. Naruto bucked his hips up and they both moaned when their erections rubbed together, creating a delicious friction that made Sasuke's head spin. Sasuke. Naruto's skin was unbelievably soft and smooth. Sasuke couldn't resist running his hands over every inch of the blonde he could reach, until finally coming to a stop just above his crotch. Naruto nodded for him to continue, then arched up off the bed when Sasuke's cold hand wrapped around his throbbing shaft. Sasuke settled himself between his legs and began to tease his leaking head with the tip of his tongue. "God, you taste so good, Naruto." Sasuke pulled Naruto up to him and, unable and unwilling to stop himself, bit deep into his neck, relishing in the taste and feel of hot fresh blood on his tongue. Sasuke. Lust-filled blue eyes widened in fear and pain. Naruto tried to push him away, but was growing weaker by the minute. "Sasuke. You're taking too much, it hurts." Sasuke ignored him and bit hard enough to tear into his carotid artery. "Sasu. Hey, wake up. Damn it, huh?" Sasuke's eyes snapped open when he felt hands on his shoulders shaking him awake. "You're almost as heavy a sleeper as Iruka," Naruto said. "Anyway, we need to get up and get ready for school." "A dream." Sasuke turned his body to make sure the blonde wouldn't see the tent he was pitching. "I hate Mondays," he muttered. A little while after Iruka left, Naruto locked up the house and departed. Sasuke was already out by the front gate waiting for him. "Dude, do you have Spider-Man powers or something? How do you get out here? I didn't see you use the stairs." "I have my ways," was the simple answer. Sasuke seemed a little off that morning. Naruto had heard him groaning in his sleep, so thinking he was having a nightmare had flung open the closet and woken him up. It was then that he was greeted with the sight of a disheveled and clearly aroused Uchiha. Sasuke had turned away and made him leave. Naruto just decided it was a teen thing. It's not like it had never happened to him. And now they walked quietly side by side toward the bus stop. "Why are you getting on the bus here? Shouldn't you at least be close to your apartment?" Sasuke shrugged. "I don't think it'll be a problem if I catch the bus from here a few times. No one questions me, anyway." "Well, isn't that convenient for you?" Naruto said. "Why do you ride the bus anyway? With your inheritance, can't you afford a car?" "I never needed one, so I never got one. I don't see why you rent an unused apartment and stay at your old house. Seems like you're wasting money. First of all, I get that apartment at a pretty cheap price and I have enough money to buy the whole building and still have a small fortune left over. And second, I use that apartment almost every night." "For what?" "It's easy to lure people there." "Oh." Sasuke knew Naruto was uneasy about the whole blood drinking thing, so the subject rarely came up. They ceased conversation when the bus arrived and rode to school in silence. When they got to school, Sasuke went off to use the bathroom, and as soon as he was out of sight, Naruto once again found himself in the company of Kiba, who showed up with the shy girl he'd met on the bus his first day of school. "Hey, what's up? New meet." "Hi Kiba." Naruto turned to the shy girl. "You said your name was Hinata, right?" "Hinata Hyuga." "Why yes." Hinata almost whispered. "So?" Kiba looked around, then leaned closer and lowered his voice. "What's it like?" "Huh." Naruto tilted his head. "What's what like?" "You know." Kiba nudged his arm. "Hanging out with Sasuke." Must be weird having every class with him and sitting with him on the bus. Not really. Really? Hinata piped up. What's he like? Is he nice? Is who nice? They all turned to see Sasuke standing behind them. Naruto jumped a few inches off the ground. Damn, Tem, how'd you get behind us? You scared the crap out of me. Sorry about that, we'd better get to class. He put his arm possessively around Naruto's shoulders, and as they walked away he sent a small glare at Hinata, who squeaked and hid behind Kiba. Naruto noticed it. Hey, don't go sending dirty looks at her. She didn't do anything to you, Tem. He knocked Sasuke's hand away. Dobi, are you so dense that you can't tell she likes you? I just figured I'd give her a warning. But you could have just. Wait, we're not even dating. What makes you think you can have me all to yourself? Sasuke ignored him and continued on to class, but stopped when he saw Kakashi waiting outside the classroom for him. Hey Sasuke, would you mind coming to the teacher's lounge to have a little talk? You too, Naruto. What's up Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked, wary of the way Sasuke tensed but started to follow the older man nonetheless. When they got to the empty teacher's lounge, Kakashi held the door open for them, then locked it behind them. Sit. He sat down on one of the small chairs and gestured to the other smaller one. They sat down and waited for their teacher to talk. Sasuke started to tap his foot impatiently. Well, what is it? How do I put this? Kakashi rubbed his masked chin. Sasuke. Deidara was spotted in town a couple of times over the weekend. Pretty far from here but still within city limits. Deidara. Naruto piped up. Wait. Kakashi-sensei, do you know about Sasuke? Kakashi nodded. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. It was good to know other people who knew. He wondered if there were lots more vampires and people who knew about vampires out there. You're not a vampire too, are you? No. Kakashi turned back to Sasuke. The Raven's features were unreadable but his fists were slightly clenched in his lap. Naruto was oblivious to Sasuke's reaction. I always hear of vampires being extremely stealthy. Deidara must not care about being seen as he got spotted twice. Thanks for telling me, Kakashi. Sasuke said quietly, standing up and walking toward the large window. Tem, where are you going? Naruto asked. You know we're on the second floor. I can survive a jump from this high. Sasuke snapped. Naruto found himself shying away at his tone. I'm playing hooky. If you wanna come with me then meet me downstairs. With that said he jumped out the window. Are you gonna go with him? Kakashi asked. No, I've got a lot of schoolwork to get to and I'm not gonna let him distract me. Where is he going, anyway? Probably to his apartment. He usually goes there when he needs to relax or calm down. How much do you know about him and his condition? More than he knows. Here. He held out a slip of paper with an address written on it. In case you change your mind. Thanks. The blonde took the paper and headed off to class. The rest of the school day almost seemed to go by in a blur. All Naruto could think about was the temperamental vampire and his mysterious teacher. He was constantly in thought as to what Sasuke was thinking, and what was going on with Itachi and Deidara. And if Kakashi was involved with vampires, did that put Iruka in danger? At lunch he sat with Kiba, Hinata and a silent guy named Shino whose eyes were hidden behind dark sunglasses. You seem pretty lost in thought, new meat. That weird boyfriend of yours dumped you? Kiba asked. Naruto slammed his fist down on the table. He is not my boyfriend. I'm sure Kiba wasn't trying to be rude. Hinata stammered. It's rude to call people weird, Kiba. It's weird that you of all people are defending him. Kiba pointed out. Or did you forget that death glare from this morning? You should have seen it, Shino. Okay. We were just hanging out with Blondie, and Sasuke showed up and Naruto tuned him out and touched the slip of paper in his pocket. What am I so nervous about? He thought to himself. It's not like he wants to kill me. All he's tried to do is kiss me. And it's not like his apartment is some kind of stereotypical dungeon. He's Chi like me. He's just one of those things. It's not like I hate him. I'm Ska. Naruto. Kiba reached across the lunch table and flicked him on the forehead. Pay attention, dude. The bell just rang. Oh, right. Naruto mumbled, getting up and leaving the lunchroom. After school was over, Naruto called Iruka's cell phone Bekasu. He knew Iruka hardly ever picked up and didn't feel like talking to him in person. Leaving a message would be easy. Hey, this is Iruka. Sorry I'm not available right now. Just leave your name and number and I'll call you back. Naruto sighed in relief when he heard the familiar voicemail message. It's me. I'm gonna be a little late coming home. A friend invited me over to study. He knew he was going to get bombarded with questions about his friend later, but until then, curiosity had gotten the best of him, and he was going to Sasuke's apartment. All right, Uzumaki, he thought. This is just a casual visit. No need to make a big deal out of it. Just go there, see what's up, and leave if you're uncomfortable. With his mind resolved, he headed off to the nearest bus station. Deidara drummed his fingers impatiently on the wall beside the bathroom door. He'd gone out hunting at a camping ground just outside of town, then come home to find Itachi throwing up in the bathroom. He was washing up now and refusing to open the door. Itachi, I wish you wouldn't shut me out like this, he said. Why won't you just let me get you a doctor? No, haven't you ever thought about how I feel seeing you like this? Deidara yelled. The door opened and Itachi made his way to the bedroom where he collapsed on the bed. Just drop it, okay? I'm be fine. Stop lying to yourself. Throwing up almost every day isn't fine. You're too weak to hunt. Deidara yelled. Just let me help you. Itachi sat up and glared at him. I don't want your help. Deidara got on the bed and grabbed his collar. I've been with you for 9 years and we never kept anything from each other. He hissed. I won't let you shut me out now. You need a doctor. You need anyone who can figure out why you're rejecting blood. Itachi frowned and turned away. Itachi, I love you. Here's no way I'm gonna sit by and watch you die. Fine. Deidara grinned and pulled him into a tight hug. Great. I'll call Kakashi tomorrow. Until then, would you mind letting go? I don't any broken bones. And I love you too. Itachi sighed when he was released from the blonde's death grip. But then he found himself being roughly pushed down. Hey, you shouldn't treat sick people so roughly. You're not that sick, are you? Deidara was already straddling his hips and removing his shirt. If you feeling under the weather, I can wait. Well, I feel better since I'm done throwing up. Itachi ran his hand slowly up Deidara's stomach. The blonde grinned and tossed his shirt on the floor. Good, because I don't plan to go easy on you today. He ground his hips roughly down onto Itachi's, earning a groan of anticipation from him. Deidara slipped off Itachi's shirt and started attacking his neck. Itachi hissed as his lover's mouth bit and sucked at his most sensitive spots before traveling down to his chest. Deidara took one pink bud into his mouth and bit down on it hard enough to draw blood. Itachi gritted his teeth in pain and pleasure. Deidara grinned at the reaction he was getting and traveled lower, dragging his tongue down the raven's stomach before taking his zipper between his teeth and slowly pulling it down. Deidara got up and quickly removed his jeans and boxers, while Itachi did the same. Itachi, I want you inside me now, Deidara said as he got back onto his lover. All in good time, Itachi said as he pushed 3 fingers into Deidara's mouth. The blonde took them in eagerly and ran his tongue all over them. When Itachi thought they were coated enough, he took them out and positioned his index finger in his entrance and slipped it in. Deidara moaned and pressed down onto the intruding appendage before another finger was added and they began to move in and out. Then a final 3rd finger made its way in. Deidara gasped when they brushed against his prostate. Itachi. It didn't take him long to adjust to the intrusion and relax. More. Itachi smiled and began stroking Deidara's dripping erection. I love you too. He could feel himself losing control. It took all his willpower not to flip Deidara on his back and pound into him until he screamed in ecstasy. Deidara gasped as his prostate was struck over and a few moments later tensed up as he came, spurting his essence on both their chests and stomachs. Itachi moaned Deidara's name when he felt his lover tighten around him, pushing him over the edge as well. Deidara collapsed on top of him and they stayed like that until their breathing slowed. Itachi chuckled. You just told me. He pulled Deidara closer to him. I love you too. It was nearing sunset by the time Naruto reached Sasuke's apartment building. The public transportation here sucks, he muttered as he made his way inside the building and into the nearest elevator. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself when he finally got to Sasuke's floor. It was eerily quiet in the building. Just the muffled sound voices coming from the occasional apartment he passed by. When he reached his destination he silently yet that the Uchiha wasn't there after ringing the doorbell. Yes, a rather irritated-looking Sasuke opened the door. Naruto. So, Kakashi gave you my address, huh? Yeah, mind if I come in? Sasuke scratched his head. I was equally in the middle of something, but come in. He stepped aside and held the door open. Naruto was surprised at how much furniture and decorations were inside. There were leather couches in the living room facing a large flat-screen TV. The kitchen was full of appliances they looked like they'd never been used. It's just for show. Sasuke plopped down on one of the couches. People always relax when they see the inside of my apartment. Oh, Naruto sat beside him. So, how are you doing? Are you coming back to the house? I'm staying here tonight. Sasuke sighed. And I'm fine, Naruto. My emotions started to get the best of me so I came here to relax. I invited you to come with me so why didn't you? I had to concentrate on schoolwork. It's not nice to lie. Sasuke pressed a finger to his lips. You don't have to be scared of me. It's not like I'm going to hurt you. I'm not a monster. But I've always been scared of things like you. You can't just expect me to get over it. Things like me, you know. Ghosts and goblins and stuff like that. Naruto explained. I can't stand scary movies and stories. Oh, well that's something that can't be helped. I'll just have to take away your fear. Sasuke lifted Naruto's face and leaned close to him. Want me to? How? Naruto was trying not to get lost in his eyes and slowly failing. Sasuke smiled and slid his other hand around Naruto's waist. Before the blonde could do anything else their lips met. Naruto's face flushed about 3 shades darker but he didn't pull away. Sasuke took the T as a sign to keep going and brushed his tongue against Naruto's closed lips asking for entrance. Naruto hesitated but slowly opened his mouth, holding back a small moan when he felt the raven's tongue exploring his mouth. A battle for dominance started and Sasuke quickly won, then proceeded to massage Naruto's tongue with his own. They didn't separate until they started to feel a need for air. Naruto shuddered when Sasuke slowly ran the tip of his tongue across the roof of his mouth before pulling away. They sat staring quietly at each other for a few moments before Naruto turned away. I have to go. Iruka will get worried. I'll see you tomorrow then. Sasuke whispered into his ear. Naruto blushed and ran out the apartment. Sasuke stretched out on the couch and licked his lips. I'm home. Naruto called out as he walked into the front door. Iruka, you here? Iruka stormed out of the kitchen. Where the hell were you? And who was this friend you told me about in your message? Just a friend from school. He's a good guy, Naruto said. You don't have to be so worried about me all the time. Well, I would like to meet this friend of yours. Why don't you have him come over this weekend? Iruka sighed. I just want to meet him. It's not like I'll kill him or anything. I'm just worried about you. You can be so reckless. Sometimes. Naruto smiled. I'm not gonna die anytime soon. I've got too much to live for. You, Sakura and Ino. And all of our friends back in Konoha. And Sasuke. He not such a bad guy. He thought to himself. Alright. Just go upstairs and wash up for dinner. Naruto ran upstairs unconsciously licking his lips the whole way. Damn. I'm so bad at writing lemons. Bangs head against the wall. Sorry if all that I love you stuff was lame to you. But if anyone complains about the Ida Dei Lemo, there was a poll involving it on my profile that I mentioned in the author's note at the end of chapter 3 but no one voted so I just put it in. Snickers childishly, haha, put it in. So, the reason why Itachi's sick will be revealed soon. If there are any spelling errors, I apologize. I read over my chapters but I always make mistakes. And I felt like this chapter was too short, but I don't know what else to write. I'll just go start chapter 5. Until next time. His dinner date. I know you all must be ready to kill me for taking so long, but this author's note explains everything. First of all, I moved. The house I moved to didn't have an internet connection so I had to wait until I got one to upload any chapters. Second, Just a few days after moving into the house, the computer was stolen by one of the guys working on the plumbing. It was about a week until we got it back, and when we did, we found out the thief password protected the entire computer. So then we had to get the password from him to use it. I would also like to say that I'm struggling with writer's block when it comes to this story, to the point where I've considered discontinuing it. But if you guys really want me to finish, then I'll try my best. Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto. Warning: this is a yaoi vampire story. If bloodsucking and butt sex makes you uncomfortable, go read something else, please. Profanity, oanukness, pairings. Sasanaru ida dei kakeru. So here's the deal. Iruka wants you to have dinner with us. I told him I have a friend, and now he's dead set on meeting you and won't take no for an answer. He's expecting you to show up tonight. Naruto and Sasuke were walking home from school Friday. Both of them were bundled up in winter coats due to the chilly weather. Despite Suna being a desert city, it was only a matter of time until snow fell. I don't mind. I knew you'd say that. Naruto sniffed and wiped his reddened nose. Damn, it's so cold. Maybe we should have taken the bus. You don't like being alone with me. Sasuke looked over at him with a slightly teasing look on his face. Stop trying to guilt trip me. And make sure you're polite to Iruka tonight. I'm pretty sure I can handle him. I'm going to my apartment to get ready. He stepped closer to Naruto and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek or knee. A few laughs and whistles from the kids walking behind them. I'll see you later. Before Naruto could protest to the sudden affection, he was already out of sight. Geez, that guy just can't keep his mouth to himself. I hope this friend of yours likes spaghetti. It was kind of a last-minute thing since I didn't have time to go by the store today. Iruka leaned over the pan of sauce and inhaled deeply. Smells good. I'm glad I decided to make this. Yeah, but I'd rather have ramen. So predictable. Iruka rolled his eyes and turned the stove off. What did you say your friend's name was again? Sasuke. Sounds kinda familiar. Iruka tapped his chin thoughtfully and shrugged. Must have heard it around school or something. He was about to say more when the doorbell rang. Naruto got up from his chair and went to answer it. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled, praying that dinner wouldn't be a complete disaster before opening the door to see Sasuke standing there in a white short T-sleeved button shirt and dark blue jeans. You look rather dashing. Naruto smiled and stepped aside to let him in. It's important to make a good first impression. They made their way into the kitchen. Ah, Sasuke. It's good to meet you. Iruka shook Sasuke's hand and ushered them out of the kitchen. Dinner's not quite ready yet, so you can head upstairs to play games or something. Leave the door open. The last sentence was said without a smile. Naruto scratched the back of his head nervously. We're not really like that. But we want to be. Sasuke finished. A loud snapping noise resounded throughout the kitchen before the wooden spoon Iruka had been holding fell to the floor in 2 pieces. Wah! Iruka picked the ruined spoon up and threw it in the trash. Well, don't go upstairs. Stay in the living room where I can see you. I have to admit, I'd normally throw someone out if they were after Naruto. But you're the first one that's been honest about your intentions. I guess I won't get rid of you just yet. Thank you. Sasuke smirked at Naruto when they made their way to the living room. That wasn't so bad. Don't push your luck, Tem. He's probably just in shock over what just happened. He still sees me as a little kid, so bringing a boyfriend over never goes well. He'll be trying to chase you off soon enough. Naruto sighed and leaned back. It's kinda nice though. Having somebody to look after and care about you. He bit his lip when he turned and saw the slightly saddened look on his face. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. It's fine. Hey, about the whole vampire thing. Naruto lowered his voice to make sure Iruka couldn't hear. I've been wondering about this. You were turned when you were 8, right? Why don't you look it? Vampires go through puberty too. You'll never see on that looks younger than a teenager. He checked to see if Iruka was watching before slipping his arm around Naruto's shoulders and pulling him closer. I've noticed Somethi. You don't seem to be as scared of me as you usually are. Naruto shrugged. I've just gotten used to you is all. He blushed when he felt Sasuke's breath ruffling his hair and looked up, biting his lip again when he realized how close their faces were. Sasuke smirked and leaned forward, pressing their lips softly together. Hey, Iruka walked up behind them and pushed them apart. Cut that out and come eat dinner. Kakashi sighed heavily for the umpteenth time that evening and stood up from his desk to stretch. It seemed like it was taking him forever to finish grading papers. He could think of a million other things he'd rather be doing. Most involving Iruka, of course. He decided to call it a night and left his study. Just as he was about to flop down on his bed, he heard a strange sound. He sat up and turned in the direction of the living room. The noise got louder and louder and he recognized it as footsteps making their way to his room. He stood up and braced himself only to relax when Deidara stepped through the door. Geez, don't you vampires know how to knock? What are you doing here anyway? I need your help. Deidara sat beside him on the bed and sighed. I know it's against the rules for me to keep coming into town, but I've been going to lots of vampires who say they can help me. But things have taken a turn for the worse. I know you probably don't want anything to do with me, but just tell me what the problem is. Well, something's wrong with Itachi. He's been sick for a while now and nothing I do seems to help. He gets frequent bouts of nausea, fatigue and he's rejecting blood. Here, Deidara pulled a small vial from his pocket. Some of his blood. Do you think you could test it or something to see what's wrong? Kakashi shook his head slowly. Don't need to. There's a disease that's only affected few vampires in history, so most don't know about it. But I've done my fair share of research and Itachi's symptoms fit the bill. It starts out mentally and soon begins to affect the body. It seems he's rejecting his vampirism and is turning back into a human. This happens when a vampire feels extreme guilt or sadness over a long period of time. He'll either get through this okay and become a normal human, or the change back could be too much for him, and he'll die. Deidara inhaled sharply and stood up. Is there a cure? You can either let the disease run its course and hope for the best or have him drink the blood of a half-breed. Half human, half vampire, a Jinchuriki. But they're identical to humans. How am I supposed to find one? Who knows? But I should remind you that if you do find one and they refuse to give blood, there will be severe consequences if you force them and they get hurt. You only need a little blood anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a hassle to get it. You may not be able to identify a Jinchuriki by looks, but their blood has a very distinctive smell. That's pretty much all I know about them. So that's it. Deidara sighed and sat back down. There hasn't been a Jinchuriki born here in over 20 years. Not to my knowledge at least. This is hopeless. You never know. Just keep your eyes peeled. Kakashi helped the distraught vampire to his feet and led him to the door. In the meantime, make sure Itachi gets plenty of rest. Mixing blood with water will help. I'll let you know if I find anything that'll help. Before walking out the front door, Deidara paused for one more question. Of all the vampires who've had this disease, how many have survived it? Kakashi sighed. I'd rather not say. You're stressed enough as it is. Fine. I'll start looking for a Jinchuriki tomorrow. Remember what I said. Don't resort to force or else. Deidara frowned and nodded before disappearing into the night. Aw man, I'm stuffed. Naruto leaned back in his chair and patted his stomach. Dinner was awesome. Glad you liked it. Iruka picked the dishes up off the table and set them down in the sink. Will you be staying for dessert, Sasuke? If it's not too much trouble. None at all. He brought out 3 bowls and a quart of ice cream. You know, I always knew I'd have to deal with Naruto dating someday, but I still feel uneasy about it. Naruto was about to protest but changed his mind when he saw the small smile on his guardian's face. There's this look in your eyes and you look at Naruto that just tells me you equally care about him. Naruto glared at Sasuke and blushed when they briefly made eye contact. Truthfully, he was still a bit scared, but the Raven was slowly but surely gaining his trust. Naruto couldn't help but wonder what the future had in store if he chose to pursue a relationship with the vampire. What if Sasuke wanted to turn him and whisk him away? What if Iruka found out what he was? And what if Sasuke's brother came back into the picture? Who knew how Sasuke would react? These thoughts ran through his mind as he walked Sasuke to the door. See you upstairs, Tem. He said softly. Sorry, I'll be at my apartment tonight. See you Monday, Sasuke said before leaning down to kiss Naruto on the lips again. Naruto watched him walk off, feeling a little sad that he'd be sleeping alone. The end. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.